Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today as we conclude our second Improving Talk series of the year, Future of Career Learning. We've had some great presentations this month, and today will be no different. My name is Armando Lopez, and I am very happy to welcome you today. And now I want to introduce you to our host for today. Lisa Luke is passionate about coaching leaders and teams to implement successful and meaningful change in organizations, delivering training, optimizing processes with Lean, and building products using Scrum and other agile approaches. She has a broad combination of education and experience with Agile, Scrum, Lean, adult learning, change management, and information technology. She is also a professional Scrum trainer with Scrum.org. In her spare time, Lisa enjoys competing in team sports and spending time with her dogs named Moose and Puss. I am very honored to welcome her today with her webinar, How to Apply a Learning Strategy for My Company, where she will show us customized learning strategies, how to align training with business goals, and improving playbook for success. It's gonna be a doozy. Please remember you can use our Q&A feature so you can ask questions during the webinar. I'll make sure she answers them at the end in her Q&A section of the talk. And now I'll leave you with Lisa Luke. The microphone is yours, my friend. Welcome.
Thank you, Armando. Appreciate that intro. As Armando mentioned, today we're going to cover how to offer you some practical guidance on developing and implementing a customized learning strategy for your organization. We want to show you how you can align your training and your strategy of growing your people to help you move forward with your organizational goals and increase the value you're adding to your end customers. So as Armando mentioned, a lot of my work focuses on process improvement and ways of working. And throughout my career, I've ended up in roles where I've helped organizations generate learning and development strategies. And that could be as small as a subject matter expertise type of job aid to help people in their work, or something project related, like helping to build out the new way of working with a user interface or an application we're building, or full-on transformation related in terms of when we've built or evolving the organization from traditional ways of working to more agile ways of working and helping them grow the skills in their workforce to help support that transition. So I'm hoping to give you some examples today from that broad expertise that I have to help you in your organizations working through and developing learning and development strategies. So we want to look at how training should help you focus on creating value for your customer. So first, we want to look at those goals, those business objectives that you're working through or strive to create in your organization. And then we want to look at how we can invest in our employees to help you attract and retain top talent. And that's through your custom training playbook. And lastly, we want to show you how to measure success, that return on investment of the training strategy. Are you on the right track? Are people actually leveraging what you're giving them in their training to support their jobs and how they're working? So let's look first off at those objectives. What are the goals? What are the things your organization is trying to achieve? Are you introducing a new technology? Like my screenshot here, maybe it's in a new autonomous delivery vehicle that you're putting in your process. Perhaps there's a new product you're offering where you're trying to get to a different customer demographic. Maybe you want to look at how do we do things more efficiently and save some money within our company, which might be process changes. So when we look at what it is we're trying to achieve, those outcomes, then and only then can we look at what is the impact to our workforce, our people, who has to do their jobs differently, and what is the change that they need to undertake. So once we identify that where we want to be, we want to look at where we are now in terms of where are our people, what skills do they have, competencies they have, and they may be having, we might identify skills that our workforce has that we're not presently leveraging. So there could be a bonus here. Maybe they have the skills to take us where we want to be and we didn't know it. We want to look at our current state of our processes. If our goals is to be more efficient in our delivery or have cost savings, we want to look at our processes end to end and understand how do we make a shift in how we're doing our work in order to introduce efficiencies. And then where are we in our technology? If the technologies we're using do not support our end goal, what is the modernization effort we need to take? What are the types of technologies our workforce should be using to support the future state? I'm thinking right now, the hottest topic I can think of is how can we leverage AI to enable our people to be more efficient, as an example. So once we know our current state and where we want to be, our learning strategy needs to help us move our workforce from where they are in their skills and abilities to where we need them to be to help us achieve our goals. So throughout this presentation, I want to use a website analogy to help anchor this into some sort of a real world example. If our goal as our website is to increase our customer revenue and draw back our customers multiple times to increase the revenue from our existing customer base, and we want to increase our sales margins by identifying and offering more high margin products, then we need to understand then where our skills are today in order to support getting that repeat customer and identifying those higher end margin products. We also feel that we can draw and retain our customer base if we're more efficient from the time they place their order till the time they receive their product. So we're also looking at an interesting bit about our internal processes and how we can shift those. So I want to show you two techniques to help understand the current state: the skills inventory of our people and the value stream map technique. So the skills inventory of our people helps us understand where we are skill-wise in our organization. The value stream map helps us understand the current state processes in terms of our website example, getting the product from when it's ordered into our customers' hands. So let's look at the skills inventory. So if we're wanting to improve the website itself and help draw customers back, we probably require team members who have strength in user experience, analyzing the customer search patterns, understanding and tracking the click-through to conversion rates of purchases. We probably also require high adaptability in our workforce to support ongoing changes to products or frequently updating marketing to different customers. So in this skills inventory example that I'm showing on the screen, this person could be a specialist for that user experience design, graphic design. They have a high capability and strength in those skills. They might need support in growing things like adaptability, problem solving, and we may or may not decide to have fully generalist staff in our workforce whereby they have every skill at a high strength. So we may want another team member who to pair with this person who has the high front end and back end development skills. So when we're doing the skills inventory, we would identify the skills we require for each employee, identify where they're ranking, and you can get them to self-rank this as well. How important is that skill towards the future state? And if we have any options, for example, maybe there's some specialist things versus using another team. Next, we talked about the process and the value stream map technique. This represents the flow of material and information required to bring a product or service from raw material to the customer. So it's a graphical representation of the steps that need to happen for us to fulfill something. So we can use this process map or value stream map to map the whole of the product from end to end. For example, from when the customer starts exploring on our website till they actually purchase and get the product fulfilled. Or we can do a portion of the whole to understand, for example, in the back end, once they place an order, what are the steps it takes to fulfill that order and get it into the customer's hands. So in our example of the website, we wanted to make sure that we're efficient in that product fulfillment process so that we can draw those customers back again. The ultimate outcome is to get repeat customers. So we can look at the value stream map. Now here we're mapping out those steps, as I mentioned. We can also time those steps if you want some real juicy metrics, the worst time, the best time. You can actually sit next to this in happening in real life or have people do their best guess of them. What are the inputs into each step? What is produced as an output? And then issues at the bottom. When we look at those green, yellow, and red dots, the value-added dots are something that the customer is willing to pay for. These are the things that we want to keep in the process because they're adding value to our customer. The yellow dots are the business value add. These are things that we need to do, like a legislative requirement, charging taxes, doing our taxes, cyber, protecting our customer data. Those are things that are value add to the business, but maybe not 100% value add to the customer. The non-value add, like these wait time steps, are something that is no value to our company or the customer. And those are good candidates for removal if we're looking at making the process more efficient. So we can do our current state of this process, and then we can map an ideal future state and then tie how do we move, what are the process changes, who in the process is impacted, and what do they need to do differently. So those two techniques that I've just shown help you understand your current state. All of that information is good to know. What is it we need to prepare, equip, and support our people towards our organizational goals? This is where the learning and development plan comes into play. So our first consideration is, what are the topics? What are from the skills assessment is it that our people need to help them move to where we want them to be? Could be soft skills, technical skills, could be the way we're working, process changes, how they're doing their work, leveraging different tools and techniques than they're using today. As a professional, we want to focus on training that helps us build our skills. And so certifications may be important to me as an individual. Maybe they're important to the organization, but I will add that we should be pursuing knowledge first, and the certification should be seen as a validation of our knowledge, not just the end goal of getting certifications. And we'll also want to consider ongoing support material, reference material, so that people can go back for information after the training happens. So again, our first consideration is, what is it that is changing? What are the topics that we need to train? The next consideration is all around the learner. Everyone has preferences and styles, which makes a one-size-fits-all approach to our learning strategy less effective. So people learn in different ways. There are visual learners who learn by looking, seeing, observing. There are auditory learners who learn best by hearing, and there are kinesthetic learners who learn best by doing it. And so we want a combination of types of learning in our strategy to fit all of these different styles. And so you'll see from my pictures, we've got some self-paced learning at my own pace, on my own time. We've got classroom or group learning. And then we've got the supported experience and or job aids at the bottom. So we want to consider the learner when we're developing our training strategy as part of this. So we have the topics, we have our learner considerations, and now we want to ensure that our training is sticky. How do we ensure that our learners are now able to translate what they've learned into the job and utilize the learning? And so there's a couple of things that I wanted to call out around aspects of active engagement during training. So the engagement aspect is a mix of concentration and interest, helping them understand how it's supporting their role in the future and their helping the organization move forward is a big part of this. Other ways to encourage engagement would be highly collaborative type sessions and or gamification. Competition is always fun, even in learning. Then the reflection aspect is around helping them to repetition of those key points so that it helps it fix to your memory. Things like taking notes, having questionnaires throughout, or visual aids that they could refer back to. And lastly, and in my opinion, one of the most important ones is application, the practical use of the learning. So by making the topic practical to how they'll use it in their job and allowing them time and space to practice using their real world job examples is very powerful in terms of the stickiness. I once had a class of Scrum students learning Scrum techniques, Scrum framework, all of the roles, the terminology. The intent that the organization had was if they sent all these project managers to this training, it would magically help them in their transition over to a more efficient way of working through their projects. However, after the training, when these project managers got back to the office, there were no projects that were candidates to use Scrum. In fact, they were discouraged from applying it because the rest of the organization wasn't ready yet. So as such, quite a few of those people moved on to different roles with different organizations. So it can be frustrating for a professional to take training, put a lot of time and energy in learning it, wanting to apply it, and then have no space to actually put it in place in their role. So that's some food for thought. I want to switch over to looking at Improving's playbook. We have a set of training together in a package for our people at Improving. So one of the main elements of this is our path framework. It is a framework to support improvers in their career development. And we provide our improvers with a path coach. And together, the coach and coachee will define professional goals as they relate to achieving Improving's organizational goals. And they will help collaborate together, defining that goal, and with deliberate practices and committed actions, take action towards achieving those goals. So some of those actions may relate to our training offerings that we have ongoing all the time. So we have lunch and learns like this one, ongoing internal and external at Improving. We have technical communities of practice where people can meet and discuss their specialty or a specialty that's new to them. We have communities of practice for each of our services that we offer. We have Improving You, which is short learning for improvers by improvers. You can voluntarily sign up. Those ones tend to be both a mix of technical skills, soft skills, as well as maybe some things like hobbying, like cooking. And book clubs we offer on an ongoing basis. We offer our improvers self-paced learning through Coursera, LinkedIn Learning, and other virtual training offerings, as well as the classroom certifications, for example, from our partners, Microsoft, Scrum.org, and others. So with our path coach, we define our goal, and then they can help direct the improver to the different types of training that are available to them in our training playbook. So for the website example, I want to look at a learning and development strategy. Now, this one is very simplified, obviously, for this. But I did want to put together a few of the things the topics that may be relevant to include in a learning development strategy. So we want to understand the new product offerings and benefits to the customer. This is something we want to broadly announce to everyone. So that might be in a format of an all hands meeting. Then we can get into some more specific type training that might be more targeted to different people in our workforce. Leveraging social media for customer engagement. That might be an online micro course that I can take on my own time. Or how to identify customer patterns and setting up AI to do this. Maybe this is a virtual small group where we're actually working through an example. Customer engagement community of practice, an ongoing community where we talk about engaging the customer through our website. And then there might be a job aid around product margins and an ongoing look at how we're decommissioning lower selling items or lower margin items. So here I've shown examples of things that are in different formats, different audiences, technical, soft skills, not much on process in this regard, but we might have had something in terms of how we're doing that product fulfillment differently. So here at Improving, I'm part of the training team. And our goal isn't just for training to stop with the classroom. We know, and we've seen it over and over again, that people are successful when they receive support after the classroom. And we talked a little bit about this in the training stickiness. So we can help you set up your learning strategy, not only through our classroom training, like our basics of Agile and Scrum immersion, or our scrum.org courses, or our Microsoft courses. These are generally good for aligning terminology, roles, approaches, a foundation of learning, if you will. And this is our approach and our content. We also offer the lab. This is where we come into your space and facilitate a working session that produces a real outcome for you. This is our approach with your content. I had one client where we delivered a classroom agile training followed by a lab workshop with the leadership to help them to define in a one-day session a prioritization mechanism for their projects. This was going to help streamline the project intake process so that we're always working on the highest value things, not everything all at once. And lastly, the field. We can come to your site, help you by your side in your context with your approaches. We might help you build out some of your materials, workshops. We might help you through pairing and mentorship or standing up communities of practice. But we are here for you to help you with your learning strategy. Now, the last topic I want to cover is how do we know our learning strategy is working? And I want you to be cautious, not simply to measure the number of people you've trained, the courses taken, who's passed and failed. But I'd really like you to get a little bit juicier with your metrics in terms of, has the employee applied the learning in their day-to-day, and has it focused on the results or outcomes that we are looking to achieve as an organization? How is our workforce adopting to the change? Are they using the training we've given them practically in their job? Is it our products becoming more innovative as a result? Is our employee and customer satisfaction scores both high or increasing? And are we more efficient? Are we seeing actual cost savings if it's the processes that we're impacting? So here's an example dashboard around these three things. So at the bottom are those learning activity metrics. This is where we can measure how many people have taken the courses, how many people are participating in our communities of practice. But we want to translate that into the actual performance metrics. Are we seeing an increase in positive reviews from our customers? Are we seeing our employees follow up with customers more? Are we seeing more high margin items offered? And then lastly, how does that tie into our business outcome? Those goals that we talked about at the very beginning of the presentation, are we seeing that increase in customer revenue? Not captured here, but are we seeing an increase of customers returning to us? And what's the rate of return? And then, of course, the sales margins. So today, we talked about how to align those training initiatives with the business objectives. We talked about what to include in the training playbook. That included many dimensions. What are the topics? How are we satisfying different learning styles? And what are the techniques we're using to ensure that stickiness of the learning? And lastly, I showed you some examples for how you can measure success of the training strategy. So Armando, thank you. That is my presentation today.
Thank you, Lisa. This has been really, really interesting, short and sweet. But we've already received questions through Teams, so I have some for you. The first one says,
Okay.
what is the best way to balance short-term and long-term goals according to you?
Okay, so if we're looking at our learning strategy and impacting the goals, obviously your organization will have a longer strategic goal that may require a significant change in your workforce, whether that be through skill sets, technology, or process. So you'll want to always have an eye on building your workforce toward that. But the short term, we want to look at those quick wins. What are the things that we can implement right away? What are the things that are easier for our workforce to adopt right away? And so we want to balance of both, a little bit towards the short term quick wins, and then a little bit towards the longer term goals of the organization.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you, Lisa. And the next one says, what are the main challenges in applying a learning strategy? This one's interesting.
Well, one of them is, does our workforce actually want to change? Do I, as an adult, later in my career, want to actually to put in the effort and time to grow in these skills? So one of the things you'll want to consider when it comes to that element is, like, we have to help the people understand and feel a connection towards the future state of where we're going and them being a part of it. So they may not want to spend a lot of extra time learning. They may just like what they're doing today. So helping them with that, what's in it for me, the why, and really offering them a lot of support in mentorship, communities of practice. The other one that comes to mind is it can be time consuming to actually retrain your workforce. This is it is a significant change to your organization. This will take time, which translates to money. And so it can be costly. So you'll want to start small, maybe with one small pocket of your organization. Measure the impacts before going too broadly to help along the way and mitigate that challenge in case your strategy or your goal is wrong.
Awesome best practices for applying learning strategy. But Lisa, what happens if my staff do not want to update their skills, even though you already have the whole strategy?
Yeah, so we talked about that a little bit in one of those being one of our main challenges to applying the learning strategy. I think it just goes back to that what's in it for me as a professional. And if I don't see that or see the why behind why I need to reskill, it's going to be really difficult for me to want to put in the effort for my own career. So obviously, there's going to be people who are in their career wanting to learn and grow, wanting to evolve, see the value to them professionally of doing it. And then there's going to be others that maybe just as happy and cool with what they're doing. So helping them understand the why and direction of the company and then them feeling like they have a future in that.
I love it, just like it's done in at improving. So, Lisa, we don't have any more questions. I don't know if you have a closing message before we say goodbye to the audience.
I'm just happy to help. Reach out to Improving if you need help with your learning strategy. We do this for many clients. We do this for ourselves. So I look forward to the conversation.
Thank you, Lisa. And you can reach out to her through her LinkedIn page, which I shared in the chat. So I want to thank you all for joining us today, but especially Lisa Luick for such an insightful webinar. It was amazing producing you, my friend. And coming up next week on March 5th, we will kick off a brand new Improving Talk series called Data with the aptly titled webinar, 5 Mistakes That Can Kill Your Data Analytics Project and How to Avoid Them with Scott Stauffer. You don't want to miss it. Until next time, have a great rest of your day, everyone. Thank you again, Lisa.